Of all the characters in The Simpsons to get a spin-off film, the sea captain was not who my money was on. I can't believe one of the best films of the year stars one of the most cartoonish depictions of a sea captain I've ever seen. I guess that must have been how they were like back in the early 1900s. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is the continuation of the quest for the best, the look back at some of the best films from the previous year that we did not get a chance to review, all leading up to our best films of the year list. I can't believe I actually got that right on the first take for once.
Yay!
Yay! You don't want to know how many times we've had to redo cuts on some of these episodes. Anywho, yeah, we're talking about The Lighthouse today, which is a film that I really wanted to see because it is the follow-up film from the director of The Vitch, the Double V Witch, however you want to pronounce that. And if you guys know me, that was one of my favorite films of the year when it came out. It's
I really like that.
It was one of my favorite horror films I've ever seen. Yeah, I remember you loved that thing as well. Did you know that's who made this film?
I might have remembered it, but I probably forgot. But like now that you brought it up again, it's like, oh yeah, I do see traces of that in the movie.
I wanted to keep that secret from you so we could have like one person watch it without knowing that, and have one person watch it while knowing it. And yeah, I thought there was gonna be another straight up horror film, but I mean, then again, like I say straight up horror film like it's just jump scares. No, the last one, The Witch, was pure horror, but was a lot of psychological horror. This one, there's psychological horror as well, but it's a lot slower, and there's a lot more comedy to it as well.
Yeah.
It does definitely show off some different sides of this director.
It's more bizarre than horrifying.
Way more, yeah, this thing, it's less like a modern horror film, or even a modern indie horror film, which is what The Witch was like. This one is like a 1920s when film was just being made kind of horror. This is like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari kind of stuff. This feels like early German expressionist filmmaking. Like, if this film ended with Robert Pattinson on the beach playing chess with death, I'd be like, yeah, that's totally what this feels like, 100%. And they're absolutely going for that feeling because this film is not even shot in 16:9 ratio. It's shot in 4:3 ratio.
And it's shot in black and white.
And in black and white. But I think that, we see a lot of people trying to be artsy by doing, black and white films. You almost never see somebody shooting 4:3 ratio.
Honestly, it felt distracting at first.
You actually asked me if something was wrong with the movie.
No, I asked if this was supposed to be like,
yeah.
It's like... It's like when someone like records like something on their camera in like a vertical lens.
Exactly. Wow, the only way that we can actually make sense of them making the film look old is to compare it to something modern that looks weird. But yeah, they're absolutely going for that. And again, it's not even with the black and white or with the aspect ratio. It's also with stuff like the special effects in here. All the special effects feel like the kind of things that you would see in those old films because they're pretty good looking special effects. Like there's a mermaid in here at one point, there's some octopus tentacles at one point. They look really damn good in here, but they're that level of weird that you used to get in old 1920s, 1930s German films. Like it feels like that kind of stuff.
Or like that French movie, A Trip to the Moon.
Oh yeah. There are also French films like that. Yeah, but the German focused a little bit more on horror back then. So, yeah, it's even with the imagination there, but it's also even with the performances. Like, there's really good performances in here, but there's moments, there's especially one shot in here of Robert Pattinson going out into the water, and the look on his face is that level of over-the-top acting that you would get back in silent films when all the acting had to be done on the face. And you can tell he's being told to do that. You can tell it's not Robert Pattinson trying to do a subtle performance and he's just messing it up. No. Robert Pattinson is a great actor. Like, if anybody out there is like, but he was the guy in Twilight. You need to see more movies.
Yeah.
I remember when he got cast as Batman, I went on Twitter and I said to all the people out there who are really mad that Robert Pattinson is going to be Batman because he's the guy from Twilight, you need to see more depressing indie films. And some guy replied to that and said, oh, so because I haven't seen any of his indie films, I shouldn't say anything about this? I'm not allowed to have an opinion about this? Like, that's a really interesting hill to try and die on, man. That's a weird flex coming in here and being like, oh, I shouldn't be allowed to talk about things I don't know anything about? How dare you tell me not to brag about my ignorance? Okay, sure, Mr. Cell Phone, go for it. So yeah, he is a really talented actor. So you can tell in that moment, he was being told to do that exact thing, and he was doing it incredibly well. Although I will say, as far as his acting in this film goes, he's a British guy, and he's actually one of the few British guys out there who I think actually does a great American accent. A lot of British guys, they tend to clip their words very quickly at the end of everything that they're saying because that's how they think that Americans talk, which, in all fairness, that is the exaggerated form of the difference between American accents and English accents. But he's trying to do like this weird Bostonian accent in here, and it kept coming and going.
Yeah, it's like
that's one of my few complaints with this film.
Like his character was supposed to be like from like the.
They mention he's from Canada.
Yeah.
But it's kind of vague where, and it's also vague if he even started in Canada, like if he grew up somewhere else and moved to Canada. Like,
yeah, he
has a very mysterious background.
Yeah, like a lot. That very much describes a lot of like these characters. They have a very vague background, and sometimes you can't tell if they're telling the truth or if they're lying or if they're hallucinating or if those hallucinations actually are real. You can't really tell.
This film, okay, so on the base level, what this film is about is it is about this old guy who runs a lighthouse, and he's taking on this young guy to come and work for him for 6 weeks. He's coming in there for 6 weeks, just gonna help him out with the lighthouse, and then after that, the guy who comes around once every 6 weeks with the boat will come back around, Robert Pattinson's gonna get back on it, Willem Dafoe's gonna get back on it. Willem Dafoe's playing the old one, obviously. They're both gonna get back on it, they're gonna go out, the next people who come in for their ship, they're gonna come in here, take it over. But then the boat doesn't come. And they don't know why the boat doesn't come. Well, they do know.
Yeah, it's like there's a storm.
There's a storm. But there's no, like, there's no phones, there's no nothing out there.
Yeah.
When this thing doesn't show up, there is no way that anyone can tell them, hey, sorry, man, it's gonna be like a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
They got no information on what's happening. They could have forgotten them for all they know. So they're just stuck out there by themselves in this lighthouse.
Like, also, like, that storm was, like, going on for a long time.
Went on for a long time. Yeah, so they're just trapped out there. So that is on the base what this film is about. What this film is really about is it's a story of two people going crazy.
Yes.
This film is about two people going insane.
Like, going crazy.
And they do a wonderful job of that in this film.
Like, being isolated on this rock in the middle of the sea.
Yeah. And this film, it is about isolation and what that does to a person. Mm-hmm. And you might think, well, they're not isolated. There's two people there. Yeah, and they can't really stand each other.
No.
So it's even worse than being isolated. Yeah, man. And this thing, it doesn't shy away from the idea of these two guys going insane because they will get into some of the nasty sides of all that. Mm-hmm. Like, there are moments in which Robert Pattinson walks in on Willem Dafoe doing some stuff to himself, and he's just so, like, shocked at that he doesn't even, like, turn away, and the camera doesn't turn away. Like, they just hold on that stuff because they're like, no, it gets this messed up out here. And then I'll come back around later on in this film, too. Man, if you ever want to see Robert Pattinson just devolving into an animal before your eyes, this is the film that will do it. And this film, it does such a wonderful job of making you, the audience, not know, okay, we know Robert Pattinson's going crazy. That's obvious. Robert Pattinson's going nuts. Is Willem Dafoe going nuts too? Because Willem Dafoe, he comes in there like, I've seen all this before, laddie. I have been through all this many times, even though he's never been through anything this bad. But it makes you kind of wonder, okay, did you go nuts before this movie even began?
Yeah.
Or are you the only person here who knows what he's talking about? Because I'm not going to spoil this one, because this is one of the best moments of the entire film. But there is a moment in here in which Willem Dafoe does a thing, and Robert Pattinson runs from him doing that thing. Then Willem Dafoe runs into the house, confronts Robert Pattinson, and goes, "You're losing your mind, laddie. I knew you were losing your mind because you just did this thing to me." And we, the audience, are going, "You just did that to Robert Pattinson. Didn't you? Hold up. Are you going nuts and you don't remember that you just did that and you think it was Robert Pattinson who just did that? Or are we seeing this from Robert Pattinson's point of view and he really is the one that did that? And now you're coming in here trying to, like, shake the audience, going to snap out of it, slap. Like, trying to say, no, that's what actually happened.
Yeah.
You, the audience, have no idea what's going on in this
Also,
film.
there's a possibility that these delusions might actually be real.
There is that.
Yeah.
There is that, because there is... When you look up this film online, it puts the tags of what genre this is, and sci-fi is one of the genres. Because there are moments where Robert Pattinson will be hallucinating about something, and you, the audience, at first you're like, well, that was a hallucination. But when you know about the myths of the sea, it does kind of make you go, all right, hold up, wait.
What?
This is fake, right? Hold on. I don't even know anymore, because one of the first things he sees is a mermaid. I already mentioned there's a mermaid here, and it's clear that it's a hallucination. That didn't actually happen. But towards the end of this, like, you know the myths about mermaids, about how they can drive sailors to madness.
Yeah.
And this is a film about guys being driven to madness. And there is a moment in here in which it almost looks like there's aliens involved in all this thing. I'm not going to spoil that part, but there was a moment in which, what's his face? Willem Dafoe is constantly telling Robert Pattinson, whatever you do, you don't go up to the light in the lighthouse. That's me. I go up there. That's Willy time. Oh God, that takes on a second meaning. Sorry, I was doing a Simpsons reference, and then I realized that means something else in this movie. Sorry about that. Anybody out there who's seen that, hopefully got a good laugh out of that. But yeah, there's a moment where she's spying on Willem Dafoe there, and you can't see anything. There's like grates in the floor, so you can always see like little peeps of it. And you see some stuff that's kind of out of this world going on up there at one point in time. And it does make you wonder, okay, that was probably a hallucination. Probably. Maybe. Actually. That wasn't real. Unless. Just kidding. Yeah, that is a lot of what this movie is.
Yeah.
This movie does an amazing job of just keeping you guessing throughout all of it. And no matter what the answer is, it's not like anything's gonna work out. It's one of those films.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I didn't like it as much.
Understandable. Like we said, this is from the guy who did The Witch. This dude loves movies about people being isolated and cut off from society. And is everything real, or is it in your head and nothing works out in the end? Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that this guy specializes in. And I can understand somebody not being into that, but oh my God, this guy is good at that.
Yeah. It's like, I like that when it comes to like a horror movie, like in The Witch. I felt like that turned out fine, but like when you apply that to like just a bizarre movie.
Yeah, like The Witch is a horror film, so you're supposed to feel uncomfortable. And I feel like this kind of counts as a horror film as well, but it doesn't like wear that on its sleeve. Like The Witch is an external force is tearing these people apart. Simple. Enemy, victims, done. We know the establishment of this. This one, it is all just the uncomfortable feeling of watching people go nuts. And I understand that not being everybody's cup of tea. It's not even my cup of tea. I still love this thing, but man, I do have to put that disclaimer up there of like, ooh, you might not come out of this okay.
No, it's like, I actually find it interesting to see people go insane, but it's like, I kind of felt
That's why you married me.
But I kind of felt like in the end, not to spoil really much of anything, it felt like it didn't matter, and that's kind of why
Okay, it is a very nihilistic film.
Yeah.
I will absolutely say that. Yeah, like in The Witch, you know, because there is an external force, it does kind of give you that, it gives you just enough hope there. And I've always said horror is about balancing hope. You don't want the audience to be like just so nihilistic and that's like, well, nothing matters, fuck all this. I can understand that because this is one of those films where they just kind of let you know, none of this really matters, man, because nobody's making it out of this thing. Like, I don't even feel like that's a spoiler. I don't even feel like I have to come in here and, like, put a big spoiler on that thing, because you watch this film, it is very clear, nobody's making it out of this thing okay. The question is, how do they make it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know nobody's gonna make it out okay, but who makes it out? How? What happens to them at the end of this? I feel like that's the question. I feel like that's the spoilery stuff at the end of all this.
Yeah.
But as I said, like, yeah, there is that idea that this could be, like, not fantasy, this could be sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because he keeps saying, like, don't go to the lighthouse, and you see some stuff up there that might not be of this earth, and he will not let him go up to the lighthouse. Maybe it's just because I read some Junji Ito recently, and he had an entire chapter in Uzumaki all about a haunted lighthouse, but yeah, man, I kept looking at this thing like, is that thing sending off signals to space? Is it? Is it? Because it really feels like this could be like a Cthulhu thing at one point even. Yeah, man.
I didn't really get like an alien vibe, more like an under the sea, like sea monster vibe.
Cthulhu there, yeah.
Yes.
Cthulhu is both space and under the sea.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
honestly, space and deep sea are like very similar.
They're both
like,
unknown territories.
Unknown territories full of who knows what.
Full of shit you don't want to mess with. Absolutely. Man. People have been saying for the longest time that someone needs to adapt some HP Lovecraft movies, and there have been some shitty ones done. Ooh, there was actually one done in 2019 that I heard was really bad. And we are looking for a couple of other films to do for the Gauntlet of Garbage. Ooh, I think I just found it. Anyway, but yeah, like, The Mountain of Madness has been, people have tried to adapt that so many times. Guillermo del Toro tried for years to get that thing adapted, and nobody wanted to do it. I feel like we finally found the person who could do it. I feel like after watching this film, we finally found that guy who was like, oh, him. This guy, like, with a bullet. That guy right there. Because like I said, this is an H.P. Lovecraft horror film. This is haunted things, unlike anything you've ever seen before, and your mind couldn't possibly grasp it. Because that's another thing. Like, you see some spooky stuff in here. There's a lot of spooky stuff that you don't actually see in here.
Yeah.
And they know when to turn that camera away from that.
Like, they know when to use special effects and when not to.
To use
like,
imagination.
Imagination,
Let that audience figure that out on their own. Yes. They do a great job of that. But I want to point something out. We've been talking about this like it's just people going insane the entire time. There is also a level of relatability in this film, because before they start going mad, before it gets to that moment where the ship just doesn't come to pick them up, there is that, it's just a long sequence of watching someone break down. That is what this movie is. It's just a long sequence of watching these two guys getting beaten down. Like, there's a moment where they wake up and Robert Pattinson sees the, oh God, what do you call them? The pots that people used to piss in.
Those, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what they were called, but yeah, before there was indoor plumbing. Yeah, he sees that both of them last night after partying, they just filled up 2 pots with liquid diarrhea. I was gonna say liquid shit, but that almost sounds funny. Like, no, you gotta point out what this actually is. They just filled it up with liquid diarrhea, and they just he picks it up and is like, all right, I'm the only one that got dropped this stuff out. Takes it to the edge of the cliff, tosses it off, and the wind blows it all back in his face, and he just lets out this, ah! And that comes after a long period of weeks of him just being beaten down, and you know he is about to snap. Mm-hmm. And man, you just look at him at that moment and go, I feel ya. I would have snapped a long time ago, and this was your breaking point, and that would be anybody's breaking point. But I also feel like for anybody out there who has ever had to do handyman work with their dad, you're gonna relate to this film. And don't get me wrong, I love my dad, but this is true for any dad out there. Any kid, the first couple times that they work with their dad, it's a lot of your dad just saying, don't do that. Why are you doing that? No, you didn't do that correctly. That's just how it is. And this entire film, for like the first half hour of it, before stuff starts going nuts, it is a lot of the grumpy old sea captain Willem Dafoe coming in here and just going, no, you didn't do that correct. I did it correct twice. Well, you're gonna do it the right way this time, and then you're gonna do it 10 times more. Just that over and over again. There was a moment in which they were making him paint the lighthouse, and he was just like holding him by a pulley system as he is suspended in the air over this thing. Just, if he falls, he's gonna break something, and he is there just, all right, hold it steady. I am holding it steady. Just the two of them just bickering back and forth at each other. Man, again, it's relatable. Anybody out there who has ever been in that experience, even if you have never, like, I jokingly say, okay, it's for anybody out there who's ever, had to work with their dad. Man, I have also worked at other jobs for years where I had to do handyman work, where I had to do repair work. And I was never the head. I was always working under everybody else. That's always how it's gonna be. The guy who's been there for years is always going to say, I don't care how you do it, you're gonna do it this way. And that's exactly what this was for a giant portion of this film. But it's there just to slowly, like, go, yep, this is the tension that they're under. This is how bad it is. And there's so many questions. There's so many things. Like, we talk about how this is a film where you don't know who's sane and who isn't insane, but also it's one of those films where you don't know what's supernatural and what isn't supernatural. We haven't even talked about the seagull. Again, another trait of this director, there will be an animal. There will be an animal that may or may not be the harbinger of doom, because this is this film's Black Phillip. There is a seagull, a one-eyed seagull, who is just messing with Robert Pattinson. And Robert Pattinson is just being driven nuts by this thing. He just wants to wring this bird's neck. And, I mean, to drive it home, anybody who knows anything about seagulls, their caws sound like laughter.
They're assholes. Seagulls are assholes.
They steal your food and they laugh at you. That's
and they shit on you.
And they shit on you. Okay, we had to take a cut there because I started talking so much about this seagull, I went into plot points that are definitely spoilers. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to let you guys know right now. There is stuff at the end of this film that we need to talk about. There are theories about this film that we need to talk about. So I really enjoy this thing. But it never hit that big point with me that, say, The Witch did. Like, The Witch had that, my stomach just sank into my gut kind of feeling. It never quite got up to that moment. I really enjoy this all throughout, but it never had that big holy crap moment.
Yeah.
Instead, it feels like it has a lot of smaller holy crap moments, and I feel like that kind of worked against it because there's a lot of moments in here which went, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then there were so many of them that eventually I was just like, okay, I'm starting to like get kind of numb to this. Like, I feel like they went
it's like I felt like they built it up so much and the payoff wasn't all that.
I do, yeah. I do kind of feel like that. Like, I can understand that, yeah, because I mean the final thing that happens in this film, well, there's gonna be a weird thing to say. There's like 5 final things that happen in this film, which I know by the definition of final couldn't actually be a thing, but you'll know what I mean when you see it. But yeah, I feel like some of them kind of didn't lead up to what we were expecting.
Yeah.
Like, the final thing that happens between Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, again, I'm not saying what happens between them, but the final thing that happens, I was just kind of like, oh really? That's how all this climaxes? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this thing, it had too many oh my god moments in there, and none of them really were the big one that we were waiting on.
The big payoff.
Yeah, the big payoff. So because of that, I'm going to give this an 8.
Yeah.
Really liked it, but never quite got up to a 9 or 10 for me.
Yeah.
But, as I said, we do need to get into some spoiler stuff in here. And it all revolves around that fucking seagull. That one-eyed seagull. Yeah, so there's this seagull in this film that keeps haunting Robert Pattinson. Keeps mocking him non-stop. Will not let him pass. Anything bad happens to him, it comes in there and laughs right in his face. Robert Pattinson wants to kill that motherfucking bird. But Willem Dafoe comes in here and says, don't hurt a seagull. Seagulls are the spirits of sailors who died at sea. They'll curse ye, they will. They'll curse ye. Has anyone seen me gold? What accent am I even doing now? So he tells him don't do this, and then there comes a day when Robert Pattinson can't take this shit anymore, and he grabs that seagull and just
whacks it
against the rocks and against the house and against anything he can find, is smashing it over and over again, and they hold on that. Like, anytime that you think that he delivered the final blow to it, he delivers 10 more. And they know there's another 10 more after that. We started laughing because it's one of those things, it's like Sideshow Bob getting hit by the rakes. It just went on, where'd that accent come from? It just went on and on. It just went on and on to the point where all you can do is laugh at because it is preposterous how long it is going on.
But at the same time, it's like, you understand what Robert Pattinson feels.
It lets you know how far this guy is gone, how long he has been tormented, how much he's been sitting on, and what a powder keg he is, that he just goes on and on. It's not just there to be brutal, it's there to serve a purpose. Yeah, I thought that was a great scene here. But then, like, the second he does that, you see the windmill turn.
Not the windmill, it's the weather vane.
Yeah. Wow, how am I forgetting what they're called? But yeah, you know what they're called. Wow, I even grew up on a farm, and I was about to say, the thing on top of barns, you guys know what it is. How the fuck do I not know what that is right now? But yeah, you know what it is. It turns and starts pointing west, and then the storm comes. It changes directions. The storm comes. It hits them super hard. It's the reason why they can't get off the island. And you have to sit there and go, did you actually curse yourselves with this? Or is this all coincidence? What is going on here? And as we said, Willem Dafoe says it's the spirit of sailors who died at sea. Willem Dafoe at one point mentions that he had another guy that worked for him, and that guy died. And then there's a moment where Robert Pattinson goes out there and he starts pulling in the big lobster cage, opens it up, and there's a decapitated head inside that is missing an eye. The same eye as that seagull. And I didn't even connect the two. I did not even connect the two. And you had to jump in and go, oh my god, do you think that that's the soul of the bird? I went, oh, fuck! Like, that was one of those that, like, I mentioned how this film never had, like, the big oh my god moment for me. That was pretty close. That was pretty damn close for me. Yeah, that was a great moment in there. But again, as we mentioned many times before, is this Robert Pattinson's mind playing tricks on him? Did Willem Dafoe actually kill that other sailor that was out there with him? Did he decapitate him, throw his head out there into the sea? Or is this Robert Pattinson just being tormented by the story that Willem Dafoe told him about seagulls being the souls of birds and how maybe he did curse them and that's why it has that missing
seagulls
eye?
Being the soul of sailors?
Soul of sailors, souls of birds. I would hope they'd be a soul of bird. If not, what is the soul of a bird? Yeah, is it him being tormented by that and it's forming this hallucination in his mind? Or is it the fucking mermaids? Is that what this is? Is it sirens or something out there? You don't know what any of this shit is. And it's amazing.
Is it King Neptune himself? Who knows?
There's a moment where... Willem Dafoe, man, if he gets nominated for an Oscar, this is the scene they're showing at the Oscars for him. And he deserves a nomination after this. I keep joking about what a performance he gave about how it's an old sea captain stereotype. But man, did he go all in on that. It is one of those things where anybody else will play this and you will have looked at it and gone, man, that's cartoonish. Here you look at it and go, man, that's cartoonish, but probably very accurate. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, there was a moment in which they get into a fight because they have just been pushed to their limits.
Yeah, and they're just sick and tired of each other.
They're like an old married couple because Robert Pattinson is trying to hurt his feelings by saying he doesn't like his cooking and he just goes, but you like me lobster, right? I know you like me like it is one of those like, don't say you don't like my cooking. Don't say you don't like me cooking. Like that's the thing that really offended him. So he then goes into this long speech, just screaming to the sky, asking Neptune himself to come here and strike him dead and make him suffer. And could that be a thing that actually happened? I don't know, because there's more. We're in spoiler territory here. There's a moment here at the end in which he is choking out Willem Dafoe, and you can see tentacles rising up from behind him. It's like, was that King Neptune, or is that Cthulhu, or was it the aliens?
Since we're in spoiler territory, I'm I had this theory that William Dafoe's character was Neptune.
That's entirely possible too.
Because at one point, while Robert Pattinson is beating the shit out of him, you cut to William Dafoe, and he is dressed up like King Neptune.
God. Yes and no, kind of.
Kind of.
Because the way that I interpret that is he sees that at first and goes up to it, and he thinks it's the mermaid, and he starts looking at the mermaid, and then the mermaid turns into Willem Dafoe, but he's got the barnacles and stuff all over him too. I thought that was them trying to come in here and go they've been isolated for so long that there's a moment here in which you see Robert Pattinson masturbating to this tiny mermaid statue they found in the wall. Which, again, he found the thing in the wall. It could be like a cursed totem for all we know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I gotta point this out right now. There is a huge difference between a film where they don't know what they're doing and a film where they're doing everything.
Because we don't know.
Yeah, because there's a lot of films out there where I just realized I could be describing it in the same sense and I could be saying this as a negative, where it's like, we don't fucking know what's going on in this thing. We don't know anything of what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on in this thing. And I could be saying that as a negative because the filmmakers were incompetent because they weren't able to come in here and really be able to portray any point. But there's a difference between not being able to portray any point and being able to successfully portray the possibility of every point. That's what this film does.
Yes.
I'm amazed that I said something that smart, and I also cursed about 20 times in this video. Anywho.
I had this theory that since William Dafoe's character is Neptune, and Neptune is basically the ruler of the mer people, he's basically luring these people to help him with the lighthouse or something.
I like that idea. That is also a very good idea. Because the way that I interpreted that is that they were trying to make a message about either two things. One of two things. One, they've been isolated for so long that you see that Robert Pattinson, he needs relief. Mm-hmm. And he needs sexual relief too. And now he's staying over Willem Dafoe. And it's his naked body there laying underneath him. It could be he's just merging everything in his mind. He is merging his hate for Willem Dafoe's character. He's merging how horny he is. He's merging just everything at once. Or what it could be is he saw it as the mermaid at first. He tried to go up to it. He keeps trying to get to this unknown area of the light up there. And we saw earlier, Willem Dafoe was pleasuring himself up there in the light. Mm-hmm. he could view that as some kind of euphoria, some kind of a place up there that, oh, this is relief up there in the lighthouse. And he goes up to the mermaid, this image of sexuality up there, this sexual image, I should say. And he goes up to it, and then it's replaced by Willem Dafoe. It could be the message of Willem Dafoe is blocking him from the release that he needs. That could be it. It could literally be any of these things. I'm gonna bump my fucking score up. This film is smart. I just realized, man, it has been a long time since I have seen a film where you can interpret it in so many ways. It has been a long time since I got a discussion like this out of a film. I'm going up to a 9 out of 10. I gotta do it. I gotta go up to a 9 out of 10. This was not gonna be in my top 10 films of the year. It was gonna be close, but wasn't gonna be in there. Oh man, this might just broke on through. I'm not saying that to get you guys to watch the top 10 list because I didn't want that to be like a cliffhanger or anything, but I'm saying that because, man, I really have to readjust this right now. Wow. That's why I love doing these reviews. I do form completely different opinions about films after talking about them. Yeah, anything else that you want to say?
Well, I don't know if I would bump up my score because I didn't.
You don't have to, yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, did I or nah? It's like I'm good with where I am. I'd probably like give it like an 8 or something.
An 8 or something, yeah.
Because like I said, like you said, there wasn't much of a payoff to the build-up.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing we gotta talk about. When he actually does have the confrontation with Willem Dafoe, he buries him alive. But after he makes him walk like a dog, like on a leash, and calls him a dog and makes him bark. And that's the one thing that I looked at and went, okay, again, you can interpret that in numerous ways. And almost all the ways that you can interpret it do fit in with other threads that could be within this film, but it still just feels weird by itself. Like, it still just feels like, not even by itself, even when you consider it as an interpretation against other things in this film that does fit with, it feels kind of just weird for the sake of being weird. It kind of does. It doesn't work as well for me as... Like, even if he had just killed the guy, that would have been a more successful conclusion than what they did there. Yeah, I didn't really care for that right there. That did not feel like it matched the big build-up, at least for me.
And it's like, I felt like the only reason why he treated him like a dog was because Robert Pattinson kept being called a dog.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And but treated like a dog, pretty much. A dog.
He kept being treated like a dog, absolutely. But still, image-wise, it's still like, oh, we have this very big dramatic thing, and now it's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those where... Even when it makes sense for the characters, and even when it makes sense for what they've been through, tonally it's just an odd thing to put right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I do like that at the end of this thing, the final image, the final 2 images actually, the way this thing ends with Robert Pattinson finally going up there to the lighthouse, and he just stares at it. And again, you kind of talk about how this thing, like, I don't want to bring up aliens again, but that final image of the light just growing brighter and brighter, and he starts laughing, but the laughing gets distorted, like the microphone is cracking and blah, 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 and then the laughter slowly turns into screams. That is amazing, and it's a perfect image of someone absolutely losing their mind and going completely nuts. But I've seen a lot of alien movies that use the exact same imagery and those exact same sound effects for abduction. And listen, the guy who made this film, he's smart. He's probably seen some of those films too. I really feel like that is supposed to be a small thread, a small, tiny thing to read into this. But yeah, man, it could be aliens. Yeah, I do think that it actually could be a small thing. There's like, I'm gonna put that in there too. Why not? Go for it. But again, it's one of those things where even if you put it in there as a why not, he made it feel like it could fit in here. He was able to create a film that absolutely feels like that could be what any of this is. Mm-hmm. It could be mermaids. It could be King Neptune. It could be Cthulhu. It could just be guys going crazy. It could be aliens. It could be any of this shit. It is amazing how many options are in this film, and none of them are wrong. And we keep talking about, or I keep talking about how this thing has very German expressionism, early like 1920s kind of filmmaking imagery in here. The final shot in here of him sprawled out on the rocks, his stomach gutted open.
And the seagulls eating.
And the seagulls eating him. Again, you can interpret that in numerous ways. Either he just went mad and this is the image he's seen. Either that is King Neptune's revenge. Either that is the seagulls all coming back to get revenge. Either that is the Neptune. Either that is the mermaids leading him off into the rocks where they were devoured. Maybe it's not even mermaids. It's sirens. The birds themselves are sirens. You could lead any of this shit. But the image of it, man, again, you talk about how he knew exactly what type of film he wanted to make. That is like classic imagery from those early 1920s, 1910 films. Especially those very weird German ones. Because I keep thinking about all those films I would see in which they would try and get religious, or they would try and talk about gods. That is Prometheus. That is exactly what that image is. It's Prometheus on the rocks being devoured by birds so he can be reassembled and eaten all over again. Again, you look at that and you could write freaking term papers on this movie. For anybody going into film school this upcoming semester and you're looking for that film that's like, oh God, I gotta write an entire paper that's like 500 words on some movie. You will go over those, you can do 500 pages on this movie. It is genius. But, asterisk, not for everybody. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not for everybody. Yeah, there are other genius films out there that you could like talk on for hours and hours and hours that I do feel, they are better for wide audiences. Even like films that are bold, films like Get Out, like there's entire college courses taught on that movie. And I feel like that one appeals to more people because it has more clearly defined boundaries within it. Not boundaries, but like rules within it. Whereas this one is a film where it's just everything. It is everything. And I feel like for a lot of people out there, they're not going to dig on that. They're not going to dig on that. But man, I dug on that. More than I even expected to. Like I said, I was going to give this thing an 8. Like, clearly going to give this thing an 8. But man, I'm bumping this thing up. I just love talking about movies. I love talking about movies, and this is a movie that you can talk about.
Yes.
But yeah, that's it. Man, we went on way longer than I expected.
Usually you go on for the gauntlet of garbage because you're always ranting.
Yeah, normally when we do Quest for Best, I just go, this is very good, everyone. Yes, yes, very good. Everyone involved was very nice in this thing. Man, this might be the longest review that we did. This might be the only one that we do for the Quest for Best that I actually do a spoiler part for because you just need to talk about this stuff. But thank you, everybody, and come back next time.
Bye.
Bye.